So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Matchday Matinee, where we dive into the cinematic takes of the beautiful game. My name is Raghav Sandhu, and I'm joined by Adam and Mark. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. How about yourself, Mark?
Good, as always.
Excellent. So, for those of you who don't know or didn't tune into last week's episode, the movie that we are reviewing this week is Goal 2, Living the Dream. Last year, as for the season finale, I believe we did the Goal movie, the first one in the trilogy of movies, which was about Santiago Muñez growing up as an illegal immigrant in Los Angeles, but then making it to Newcastle United through trials and tribulations. It focuses both on a family drama point of view as well as footballing sense of him making it to Newcastle. This is Goal 2, Living the Dream, where basically the synopsis is that he's now ready to take the next step after Newcastle United and play for Real Madrid. This movie features a lot of cameos from Real Madrid players, and it almost feels like, it doesn't almost feel like, it is that they're part of the script, they're part of the entire movie. But before we dive into the plot, what did you guys think about this movie in general?
This movie is the epitome of mid-2000s Galacticos. It's all style, no substance.
Yeah.
I thought I would enjoy it much more. I saw it about 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I thought I would enjoy it much more than I remember. But it didn't live up to part one. I thought part one was amazing. It had some emotional moments that hit. Yeah. And like I was saying, this is just such a promotional piece for that era of Real Madrid in partnership with Adidas, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. How about yourself, Adam?
I'm kind of the same. I think I wrote in our Slack, I had an opinion of this film and I was interested to see if I still held it. I didn't like this film as much at the time.
Right.
It feels really shallow compared to the first film. As much as it's awesome that they got this access to Real Madrid and stuff, but they use them so sparingly. They don't have many spoken parts. The most speaking we get from somebody that's been at Real Madrid is Steve McManaman, who'd kind of retired by that point. Yep. It's not to say there's no pluses to it. It's just a super strange film. I think it's all style over substance for sure. And as we go through the plot, there's just some. Santiago goes through a lot of growth in the first film, and in this film it's just kind of undone to make dramatic tension. And he does things that I don't think he would necessarily do.
Right.
Which we can kind of get to as we get through it. But yeah, I just really found, and it's interesting, I watched the making of that's on the DVD, and you can kind of tell that they went with that thought point. They literally said, the first film was great, but we really wanted to tear Santiago apart into a new character. They actually said that. And then they kind of said how the guy they picked to direct it had just done other films and stuff, but I forget. House of Wax he did, that remake of that horror film.
Oh, it was Paris Hilton, right?
Yeah. And they were saying how they wanted somebody that could have the dynamic, exciting ways of a music video, but with the integrity of a feature film. And that's totally how some of this felt like. Especially some of the Footy Flicks went over the top, kind of. And they even said we tried to make football more fun and stylish by adding music. And it was like, what? We don't need you to do that.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel this. Yeah, I had this opinion going in. I rewatched it. Still kind of had this opinion, and then watched the making of, and I was like, yeah, okay, so you guys were kind of going for that. You were trying to best everything, and you wanted it to be glitzy, but not necessarily have that substance that we perhaps were looking for. Fans of the first one might have been looking for.
What about yourself? You were pretty hyped up on this movie.
I was hyped up on the movie because, like you, I watched it 10 years ago and I was like, yeah, I remember this being pretty good, right? And all these players are in it. But I'm also fallen to the same boat as the two of you, where it is style over substance, where the first one was a real, like you mentioned, Adam, a real growth. You see the growth on screen of Santiago Muñez, trials and tribulations, where here they just seem more made up and something that you would assume would happen to a football player. You know what it seemed like to me? It's that the journey in FIFA. That's what it really reminded me of. It's made up stuff that you might,
Yeah, when he seems to have almost a personality transplant. He gets injured halfway through the film, and he seems to have a personality transplant from that point, and becomes everything he isn't. Becomes a complete jackass. Doesn't care about anything.
But they took Gavin Harris's story arc from the first movie, and it's pretty much the exact same as this.
Yeah. Like he's still a party boy.
His story I like actually in this movie. Yeah, it's a continuation. It's a continuation.
Yeah. Part of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and like they touch on him being vain and stuff and his quest to not like get old, kind of visually at least. The other thing quickly before we like move on to the plot, I also think this film lost a lot of the humor. The first goal film was pretty funny. It had its moments, and I think a lot of that was the like Newcastle stuff. This film had like none of that, with a couple of exceptions. It was just like pure like soap opera drama. And that's like, and then the weird thing is though, you go and look at the description of it on like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, they still describe it as a comedy drama, and it's like, no, it's not.
You mentioned it, like I'd forgotten about the comedy aspects of part one.
Yeah.
Like, what was his name, Glenn? When he's like, "Welcome to the Tune."
Yeah.
Right.
The Tune. Who's from the Tune? What is it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Geordies. The Geordies. That's where the Geordies live.
Yeah. It's like, what's the Tune? And he's like, the Geordies are the Tune. Yeah. And then you've got the fans that are all super funny. Like we do get that old guy earlier on in the film, but still.
Yeah. Awesome. So we are discussing Goal 2, Living the Dream. And before we get into the plot, I actually want to give our listeners just a brief overview of the movie, who directed it, where it's produced, runtime, etc. So Goal 2, Living the Dream. It is directed by Jean Colette Serra, produced by Mike Jeffries as part of the Milkshake Production House. It stars Kuno Becker, reprising his role as Santiago Muñez, Stefan Delane as Glenn Foy, Anna Friel as Roz Harmonson, and Alessandro Nivola as Gavin Harris. Those are the main characters. Of course, there are hundreds, well, not hundreds, but there's, a lot of cameos by players, by actual Real Madrid players and other players on other teams. Arsenal, I'm looking at you. The original release date was 9th of February 2007 in the UK, and the total runtime is 115 minutes. So that's just some brief stats about the movie, and giving the shout out to the directors and the producers. But let's jump right into the plot. As I mentioned at the top of the show, as part of the first movie, of course, Santiago Muñez makes it to the Newcastle team. Kind of the last finale was him playing for Newcastle and scoring a free kick. It was a free kick, correct? Against...
No, wasn't it a cross from Gavin?
Yeah,
either way, it was a great
ball. The free kick came in an earlier game, I think. Yeah.
Right. Either way, he scored the winning goal against Liverpool to send them, in fourth place to make it to the Champions League. And this movie pretty much picks up in that summer. So what you see towards the beginning of the movie is him and Roz now are deciding, that they want to get married. She's picking out flowers. He's, of course, not really participating, coming late from training and things like that. But what you really see is that Real Madrid are interested in him. And so you see some agents and the manager sitting down watching match footage. That same Newcastle game, the finale game, watching that match footage. And they're interested in him. And basically, he then flies out to Japan, where Real Madrid do their preseason tour. As you know, of course, many European teams do their preseason tours in Asia and America and things like that. And he joins them and he agrees a deal. And I love the way that this is kind of based off of real life, because around that time, Michael Owen did actually go to Newcastle. Yeah, and
so they kind of weave it in, weave their fiction into actual events. It is cool for sure.
Yeah, and they framed it as him being part of the swap deal for Michael Owen. So that was kind of cool. But what are your thoughts on that beginning of the movie? Essentially going from Newcastle to Real Madrid, watching the deal take place. I mean, these are things that I would perceive would actually happen when a young player like Santiago Muñez is trying to sign for a behemoth-like club for Real Madrid.
Yeah, and like he kind of he rushes through the deal because they fly him out to Japan. He just signs the deal. He tries to call Roz to tell her and she doesn't pick up. And then she's kind of a little bit, he's just waiting to first see the tension. She's kind of a little bit annoyed that he hadn't actually checked with her. Yeah. But I think that probably shows the barriers that a lot of younger couples go through, because it's definitely like the girlfriend would definitely still be working if you were like a youngster, just in like, you never know, right? Yeah. And then I guess that kind of weighs up like that thing of the wife ultimately, like sometimes abandoning their careers or not having quite as an intense a career as being a nurse. Like, so I thought that was quite well like handled.
For sure.
Again, soapy though, like serious.
Yeah. How about yourself, Mark? Did you have any thoughts about the whole transfer saga?
Yeah, it was cool. It was a nice introduction back to Santiago, and seeing him have success, and then it brought you up to speed on Gavin being sent to Real Madrid, and then just his whole relationship with Roz, and started to get some eyeballs on him. It was just pretty cool. It was nice to see him have some success. And then, like you said, how they tied in with Michael Owen going to Newcastle in 2005, and how they weave that whole storyline from reality into fiction. Yeah. It was well done. It was a good start. Certainly, that guy put his music video directing chops to work. So
for sure. And just going back to Adam's point a little bit about Roz and him not really communicating the best with her and making that move to Real Madrid. Of course, he's a young player. This is his dream. And I found it to be actually really realistic that, he just jumped at the opportunity without consulting, because as a young player, let's say if I was a young player and I was playing for Newcastle and Real Madrid came calling, I wouldn't ask anybody. I just signed the deal.
Exactly.
I'm like, listen, I'm going. But no, it was very well done. I think this part of the movie was kind of the beginning, the prologue to the rest of the film, which is actually his time at Real Madrid. So that was very nice.
Would there not be like some conversations first? Like the transfer window is closing the next day and they call him up and they try to sign him that day? Would there not be like some sort of interest be engaged for a month or so at least? Or is it just, let's sign this guy?
Not necessarily, right? Because you do see a lot of players just make last minute moves. And holy crap, like what happened there, right? It's possible. They didn't really show, and I mean, this is now us getting into the nuts and bolts. They didn't really show Real Madrid, trying to contact Newcastle over brokering a deal, because you can't just tap up a player like that. Yep. That's just getting into semantics. I mean, for all intensive purposes, Newcastle agreed to the swap deal and Santiago went to Japan to sign a contract. And of course, he jumped at the opportunity to go to Real Madrid. Now, the one thing I really love about both movies, including this movie, is how true they are to the city that they are displaying, that they're showing. So in the first one, of course, he was a Newcastle player. And the scenes that they show in Newcastle, the people, it all seems very real. It all seems very true. I feel the same way about them showing the city of Madrid.
Even Tokyo.
Even Tokyo to an extent, right?
Although I do hate how they had to use Turning Japanese for that bit. It's like
I mentioned last week.
Couldn't find any other song.
It's a default Japanese American song. But they showed Tokyo, they showed Shibuya, they showed that rooftop pitch on that the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the stadium, the office side. But sorry, man, you were saying?
No, go ahead.
No, that was it.
That's it.
They do a good job of making Newcastle look. They do a really good job of making Newcastle look nice in the first film. They do a good job of making it look grim by comparison, right? To kind of make you realize why you would, like, not only for the football but the lifestyle as well. Like they dull it down. Like all the skies you see of Newcastle early on are all very grey, and later on, it seems to be constantly raining when Roz is back there. They definitely plan that well.
Sunny Spain and all that, right?
Yep.
I believe we talked about this when we reviewed the first film, but who do you really think this movie is aimed at? Is there an age group? Do you think there's a particular age?
It's a wide audience, and it's pretty much everyone that they were trying to market that 2005 Real Madrid team to. This is it, right? Like all the sponsorship deals. When Adidas had that, and I mentioned that, I took some notes on it during the movie, but when there was that +10 campaign, Jose +10, and they had that.
Oh, yes, they did.
Movie,
they had that billboard. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, we'll get to that part where they did Muñez +10, but like that whole campaign, and it's pretty much like a global audience that they're aiming for.
It's really good. No, the only reason I asked that is because in the first movie, you could see that, I mean, both are okay, the first movie is very kid friendly, right? It's a guy trying to chase his dream, makes it to Newcastle. But in this one, I found that there was a lot more intimate scenes between a guy and a girl, especially this last, when we were just talking about the part about them showing Madrid. It actually goes from a pan shot of Newcastle, them sleeping together in Newcastle, to when they wake up the next morning and she opens the curtain and they're in Madrid. But they actually show
it's very erotic compared to the first one. Which
100%. And even further down the movie, like just some of the tension that he has with some other characters.
It's not long after that, is it? It skips ahead a month and they go to that party that Barry's holding. Sean Pertwee's character. And even there, he's just like a piece of crap. He's like, yeah, this is a singles party. And then it's got that, is it Girls, the song or something? And it's just playing. Yeah. And it's just all these bikini and like people dancing and like drinking and stuff. And it's like definitely more sexualized than their first film.
Oh, 100%. Sure. Like, and I don't know, maybe that's the perception that a wider audience might have of Madrid, that it's like, you know, Spanish babes walking around. I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. But yeah, you're right. Actually, Adam, that's a great segue, because I think, you know, of course, then he goes into the Madrid training facility, meets all the players, they're training together. But literally, he, of course, finds his long lost friend Gavin Harris, and they reunite and they go out on the town, and then they have that party, which is supposed to be a singles party, and going back to, you know, sexualizing some of the scenes when Roz goes to the bathroom. There's a group of girls standing there, and she's like, "Oh, I like his bum," or whatever it is, right? And she's like, "You know, I'm gonna have him tonight," right? And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how much of that they showed in this movie. But essentially, talking about his Real Madrid career, I guess you can say, it's Coach Dornhelm that's the manager there. He's a Dutch coach. And essentially, for the first couple of games, he keeps Santi on the bench. Of course, Santi wouldn't start right away. And Gavin Harris is the starter for the team, but Gavin Harris, like in the first movie, is shite still. And yeah, Santiago pretty much immediately makes an impact when he comes on in his debut game, scores a nice volley. I forget which team it was against, but was it Valencia? No, it can't be Valencia.
I think that was Olympiacos, right?
That was Olympiacos. Yeah. That was Rivaldo, right? Rivaldo, they showed it. Yeah, they showed Rivaldo. Yeah, so it was against Olympiacos. He scores on his debut, and, you know, all of a sudden he's the rage of the town. But he's still, of course, Coach Dornhelm is still keeping him on the bench and preferring Gavin Harris over him for the, you know, next few games. But what are your impressions of when you're seeing Real Madrid and when you're seeing all the cameos by the players and just the action on the pitch? I know we touched on it a little bit, but
my problem with the cameos is it's all just background dressing. They don't say anything. Like, arguably, you had which were the players in the bar in the first film? They're like, "Hey, keep it up and you'll be with us."
Zidane and Beckham.
Yeah, there's more there than there is in this film. And like, there's a weird bit in the making of where they're like, yeah, it was weird because the actors are trying to be footballers and the footballers are trying to be actors. And it's like, where? The actors do the footballers do no acting in this film, like, at all. Yeah. And
but
it's weird. Go on.
It must have been so weird. Like, they are in the middle of playing these matches and trying to complete a season when they're filming a full movie during that. Like, it's obvious that they had these guys on the pitch and in the locker room.
So they weren't in the locker room during the season. They touched on that. They were in the locker room during a pre-season, and then they went to all the games, filmed all the games. So it showed you them having extra cameras to film all the games, and they filmed a whole bunch of the games in like slow motion, because they talk about how that was like technically challenging because they could only fit 6 minutes of footage on a film in slow motion. I guess because it's gathering more frames, right? Yeah. So then they did that, and then what they did is they went back, looked at all the footage they got and built the matches around that, and then they went back and filmed with the players after that again and filled in the gaps. So like the Arsenal game that was the final, they used a bunch of extras to play the Arsenal players, and then like super cut that footage of like Beckham with the Arsenal players, and then they CGI'd all the fans in from the actual game with the training footage that they recaptured. Like, they had tracks on the pitch, and it shows you all these, like, they had tracks in the goals and stuff that they had to take out with CGI and all this stuff. So it doesn't sound like they had all that much access. I think you get the sense, like, they talk about the dressing room scenes were all done in like one bit.
It's funny you said that about like looking at the matches and then going back later to build around that.
Yeah.
Because that Arsenal match, the one with the finals, Beckham has two different hairstyles.
Yeah, so that'll be why then. So it'll be...
So they filmed it obviously in the spring, then they went back in the fall or whatever.
Yeah.
And
So fun fact, that final, and we'll get there, but that final Arsenal game that they showed was actually a round of 16 knockout game where Arsenal actually knocked out Real Madrid, I think 1-0.
Yes.
In that season.
Yeah. And then I think that was the year they got to the final, I think, and lost.
2006.
Arsenal that season got to the final against Barcelona and lost. Yes, that was a Sol Campbell red card. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyways, kind of just deviating from his, again, Real Madrid career, there's another part of the movie which, again, like the first one, is the family dynamics and family drama. Only this time, there's a random mom and her son, who are apparently his long-lost family from Mexico because his mom ran away. I honestly don't know what to make of this entire storyline because it's just so random and thrown in there. But essentially, he has a younger brother, Enrique, his stepbrother, who lives in Madrid and just happens to live in Madrid in a very poverty-stricken area. He's constantly getting into trouble stealing, and his mom scolds him one day and says, "Hey, look at Santiago Muñez. You can be just like him." And he's like, "What does he have to do with me?" And she's like, "Let me tell you a secret. He's actually your brother."
But then later on, she's like, "Don't bother with him. He's nothing to you. It doesn't matter." And it's like, make up your mind, woman.
It would have been better if she had lied to the kid and that wasn't actually his brother, but he pursued Santi anyways because he did think it was his brother.
That would have been better growth. And like Santi then treats him like a brother, like he becomes like a surrogate brother almost or something. That would have been more interesting.
I think if you really want to show family dynamics for Santi, you could have left this entire thing out with Enrique and his mother and just shown that his brother and the grandma moved to Madrid with him or whatever it is. And maybe, I don't know, he's ignoring them or he's not, really taking time out for his family. Like even that is better than just this random
and instead they do a complete injustice to the little brother. You see him you see him at the end in the pub watching the game, but you see him in one scene on a computer and he's like, "Who's that?" And then the grandma's like, "That's your mother." And it's like, okay. And then they just move on and it's like,
There's a picture of Santi, like his new little brother.
Yeah.
So look back like old little brother looks at the picture and he doesn't even get like, he's not happy about it. He just looks and he's like, replace me. He's just shocked that replaced them.
Yeah, so of course the backstory from the first film is that his mother walked out on him. She was a drunk and she walked out on the family, never to be seen again. And later on she explains why she walked out, but we'll get to that. But essentially, like I said, Enrique is his younger brother. Of course, Santi has no idea that they live in Madrid. So one day while he's driving his brand new Lamborghini that he just bought, and he seems like he's buying a lot of toys and just enjoying life in Madrid, which is probably a good representation of a lot of players when they get to such a big club.
I would say that's pretty accurate, you would assume.
Yeah. But somehow Enrique knows exactly what street Santiago's going to drive down, gets in front of the car, almost gets into an accident, shoves a picture down Santiago's lap saying, "Hey, I'm your brother and this is your mother. Peace, see you later." And well, that's what Santiago's like, "Get out of my face," right? And then he kind of just drives away. But you could see that he's clearly shaken from this. And then he confirms with his grandma whether this picture is real. Is this a real person? And his grandma's like, "Yeah, we never wanted to tell you, but she walked out on you. But that is your mother, and she does live in Madrid." So it's just like so many things just come together that don't. It's like it's almost too perfect, right? Like, it's
Disney movie. Like the little kid finds out his older brother is the world's biggest soccer star at the time. Then he steals on his car and goes on escapades with it. Like it's just storyline put into this movie.
I mean, and at this point, after this whole story is corroborated by his grandmother, Santi's life takes a downward spiral essentially, where he's like drinking, making out with Jordana, who he met at that singles party, who is a talk show host, which it seems like that show is dedicated to talking about people's clothes. But he's, essentially, he's getting drunk. He's, partying with girls that are not his girlfriend. He has to do a tofu commercial at this time. And he's visibly, pissed off that he has to do this commercial. And in that exchange, he fires Glenn Foy for not having his back. So a couple of things happen. So he gets very riled up from this image and this story corroboration that, his mother exists in Madrid. So he makes out with random girls, which is Jordana in this case. He fires his agent. His relationship with Rosaline starts to suffer. And at this point, somebody from the Madrid board is like, "Hey, you should really start Santiago because he's been doing good as a substitute." He debuts when he makes his first starting appearance, immediately gets a red card against Valencia. So his life's not going very good at this point.
Was Jordana dating Gavin?
No. I think Gavin always just tried to flirt with her.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, right? She probably keeps him around to keep access to the footballers, I assumed.
Yeah.
Whilst actually giving him much back, but he's dumb enough to go along with it, kind of.
So that makeout scene that you mentioned where they sneak off feeding each other grapes very aggressively.
Yeah.
The next morning when he sees Gavin, I was expecting the tension to be there because he cheated on or messed around, or he cheated on Roz with Gavin's girlfriend. But instead they just kind of play back and forth, and that was very confusing to me.
Do you know something weird about that grape scene? So there's deleted scenes on the DVD. So I thought it was a bit weird how they suddenly were feeding each other grapes out of nowhere. Like everyone else is going, Happy New Year. The extended version on the DVD has them like throwing grapes at each other for like a minute straight. And then they actually sleep together on the pool table. Like a full blast shows you everything, and they deleted it. So I guess, because that's another thing I really hate about this film, is it leaves the whole, presumably for the third film, but leaves the whole tension with Roz left there. And he doesn't really admit to her. He calls her towards the end and is like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was a dick and all this. But he doesn't really admit that, hey, I cheated on you.
And he left a voicemail too.
She just stopped replying to him, which is good for her. I mean, why let a guy cheat on you, right?
So he was already becoming such an unlikable character for like 2/3 of this movie.
Yeah.
I think that would have pushed it too far if he had actually slept with her.
Yeah, so I would think that's probably why they cut it out.
Yeah. The first time they do actually make out is when he does get that red card, and then he just drives off to a bar and starts drinking, and she somehow knows he's there, and then they take tequila shots together, and then they kiss just before he leaves, and then that grape feeding scene is like later on in the movie when they're celebrating New Year's.
Yeah, because that's where that's how him and Roz are already on thin ice by then, because she's seen that picture in some gossip magazine.
Exactly.
We just missed something super fast. When he gets sent off in the game, they have Zidane get substituted, and I got so distracted because the man who's playing Zidane's body double from behind has the biggest head in the world. It's massive. They just found like a guy with the baldest head they could find and be like, yep, he'll do. Put him in a Madrid shirt.
Yeah.
Just weird little things like that. They knock you out of the facade it's trying to build.
Yeah. So I guess continuing on a little bit with the plot, Santiago's lowest point, essentially, from his already downward spiraling life, is when his younger brother Enrique finds his car from a valet, races it and crashes it and gets injured himself. So Enrique gets injured. Santiago takes him to the hospital, but then obviously takes the blame for his younger brother and then goes to jail.
Punches a journalist.
He punches a journalist as well.
Again, though, if that journalist had been more evasive all through the film, that would have felt better. But you'd literally just seen in the scene before where it's actually Gavin that has a go at him, not Santiago. Yeah. And then suddenly he just shows up. He's taking pictures in the police station. Like, he's got his camera lens like sneaking into the interview room. And it's like, that wouldn't happen. Yeah. And then he just lamps him one out of nowhere. It's definitely like this injury just spirals him and he has a complete like personality transplant, which I get it. Like All or Nothing is a good example. It shows you how like isolated injured players can be and stuff, but they don't completely become other people. Like it's not, it's so strange.
He let everything go to his head, I guess.
Yeah. I guess so.
After his transfer.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, he realizes he's at the lowest of the low. Like his life can't get any worse. So now he tries to miraculously. He also gets injured playing keepy-uppy with what's his name, Gavin.
Gavin falls on a bike.
Yeah, literally the stupidest way to get injured. But he gets injured. Leo realizes he's in the lowest of the lowest, but then now tries to repair his life and repair his relationships, which with Roz in the movie gets left out entirely, so they don't really show him repairing his relationship with Roz. He tries to call her a bunch of times. She doesn't return his calls. Just go visit Enrique and the mother. And the mother at this point explains that I didn't really walk out on you. Your uncle and his friend actually raped me essentially while I was walking home from work. I was too scared to tell your father, so I ran away, but I came back 3 weeks later and you guys had already left Mexico. And that's why I could never find you guys again.
So is that kid? No, that wouldn't make sense. Well,
it's a stepbrother. Right. So there's another man that owns the bar. I believe that's the father of the kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought it was the uncle's kid.
Could be.
Yeah, it's kind of left ambiguous, right?
It's nothing. It could be the uncle, could be the father, but it's definitely his father figure. But they do say that he is your stepbrother. So when Santiago sends the photo to his grandmother, and what's the other kid's name?
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? So his real brother's name, his grandma actually mentions that's your mom and that's your stepbrother.
But it's not a stepbrother; it'd be half brother.
Yeah, because they share the same mother.
Right.
Yeah,
he does him dirty. Yeah,
I guess they just misused the word.
Yeah.
But of course, he's bettering. He's getting better. His coaches are seeing that he's getting better, and at the end, they're actually making the Champions League. They made the Champions League final, and you see throughout the movie that there's a constant competition between himself and Gavin Harris because they both play the same position. But towards the end, during the final, Gavin actually goes up to Coach Dornhelm and tells him, "Hey, let Gavin play. Let Gavin start in this game because he's trying to make the England team for the World Cup. So as a friend, I want him to start," which is a great thing to do. And then, the finale, the Arsenal game, the finale for the second movie, very much like we had the finale match of the first movie. Give us your thoughts on the finale game.
Yeah, it was like it ramped everything up to like 20, right? I feel like the footage, like the green screen and all this, it's obviously had more time in this game. Like a lot of that stuff looked less green screeny and stuff. They'd obviously spent more time on this one game. Everything was like very choreographed and like turned up to another notch, kind of. There was some weird things, like who was the TJ Harper guy who played for Arsenal?
Nick Cannon, my friend. That's Nick Cannon.
So random.
Where was this? There was this built-in rivalry that clearly existed between him and Gavin, but it was just like fleetingly, like you felt like there was some tension there, and they sort of fought in the tunnel on the way to half-time, but it's like it just came from nowhere. It's just,
they could have done it. Maybe they could have explained even for 10 seconds that, this is the guy that I'm competing against for the England team, right? They could have explained that.
Or I used to play with this guy as a kid, or anything. It was just like, no,
literally anything. Yeah,
we're gonna have you on the. It was super weird.
But I think they just expected people to be like, "Oh wow, that's Nick Cannon," and then buy into the rivalry.
Yeah,
it was. We'll probably get into this more with Footy Flicks, but everything looked fantastic. But the problem was, it looked like a tournament review video almost. Like it looked too good. Like it looked like something you'd watch on a Champions League review show. You know what I mean? There was no heart to it.
Yeah,
everything was filmed well,
and like it's the music and stuff, right? And
like when he comes onto the pitch and like the slow motion of him touching and stuff like that, all looks really cool. But in the first movie, we had the buildup of him on the training ground, and then playing for the reserve side, and then actually playing for the first team in that final match. And you felt for the character, you were empathetic with the character, and like you just were rooting for Santi. And this movie, you spend 2/3 of the movie hating the guy.
Yeah.
And finally, he has that character turn where like he sneaks out with the gardeners, and then he embraces his mom. And you start to kind of root for him again, and then boom, you're in the match. And you're kind of like over it at that point. I was personally.
I was too. I still even wasn't rooting for him after his about turn because I was like, you shit. Roz is. I suppose we've kind of skipped over just before. Is it just before the game? Yeah, just before the game where it's revealed that Roz is pregnant. Like he's leaving. He leaves the message to apologize. You can see her sat on the stairs and she's like leaning over crying, and then she gets up. She's clearly pregnant from the earlier scene. We saw them kind of a bit like When Saturday Comes, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not rooting for him at that point because all I'm thinking is, you craphead, you've like got a poor girl pregnant and she doesn't know what the hell to do because you've been such a dirtbag to her. Yeah. So I didn't buy his about turn and he's like becoming a good guy. I just didn't care by that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I have two opinions on this game. First of all, the game was staged like a typical sports movie where, you know, the opposition team is way better. And then, of course, the team we're supposed to be rooting for, in this case, Real Madrid, makes a miraculous comeback. And I swear, at one point, I felt like this movie had shades of Shaolin soccer in it.
Totally. I wrote down my notes. We get this insane bullet time goal I wrote, which wouldn't look out of place in Shaolin soccer. Like that, the goal that Muñez scores, right? It just spins into it's ridiculous.
The ball's completely CGI at one point.
Yeah.
And they do it twice. I think first with the TJ Harper penalty kick.
Yes.
Where it's like a ball cam, and then the Santi goal is just completely CGI and the ball's like perfectly smooth and Looks terrible.
Yeah, even when TJ Harper has that opportunity, and Iker Casillas apparently saves it, and it goes off, like he gets his fingertips on it, goes off the bar. It looks totally CGI'd. But yeah, essentially in this match, quick synopsis: Arsenal goes up 2-0. TJ Harper and Thierry Henry, I believe, score. And Thierry Henry's moves actually did look good though, and that's because they were real, I think.
It's funny.
That's a genuine goal for when they beat them.
Yeah. And then in the second half, Gavin Harris scores the first goal. Santiago Muñez scores the second goal with that Shaolin soccer style cinematography. And then you'd expect Santiago Muñez to score the winning goal, but he doesn't. This is so random.
Yeah. It's shades of
Rocky,
Stallone, Escape from Victory, saying like, all right, I'm going to be in this film, but I'm scoring the winning goal with a free kick.
Yeah.
And
I guarantee it. That was a stipulation of him appearing in the movie. Was.
Yes.
You've got to think he was one of the biggest footballers in the world at the time. Yeah. When you go and look at how many free kicks he scored in his career, he's like up there in the top 5.
Of course.
So it makes sense, but it is random.
Right. It's so random. So David Beckham scores the third goal off of trademark free kick. And at that point, of course, it's the last second of the game. So they win the Champions League, which they don't even show a trophy presentation or anything like that. It's just that's exactly where the movie ends. David Beckham scores and it says to be continued.
They jump up and they do the victory pose. And
yes, that's it. That's the movie. Yeah. That's the end of the movie. Honestly, the ending was so thrown together that I was like, wait, did this movie actually just finish? Or like, what's happening? What happened with Roz, right? Like, what happened with that?
I think that all that's deliberate. So again, to go to the making of when they went back to film those extra scenes on the training pitch to build that final, they were already in pre-production for Goal 3.
Right.
Which when you watch Goal 3 is ridiculous because a lot of this stuff gets left unresolved to some regard, but they talk about, we've got it, like Muñez is going to be at the World Cup, and then they interview Beckham, and Beckham's like, the World Cup's going to be amazing, I'm looking forward to Goal 3. It's just ridiculous. Like it's like they just thought, right, this makes sense to cut it here and we'll start pre-production. We've all got this plot planned out kind of, which didn't come to fruition.
Here's a question, and I don't necessarily know the answer to this, but Goal 3 that was planned after this movie, was it planned in the same way that Goal 3 actually came out, or was it actually supposed to go with Santiago's story arc?
They always said from the beginning when these films, I remember when it was first in the press, it was like, hey, this is going to be a rags to riches story starting with this journey ending at the World Cup final. That was always what it was going to be about, was Muñez being in Mexico in the World Cup final. Then when the first film came out, they talked about how Gavin was going to be there like the whole way with him and stuff. And it's just like, that's not what. So I actually ordered the DVD for Goal 3 today because I want to watch the special features on it. I thought I owned it and it's not in, I don't have it anywhere. So I'm like, I need to own it. I need to watch this because something obviously changed somewhere.
Gavin's not even in it, right?
I don't think so. And
I don't think so.
And then Muñez has
looking at the cover, it's like two goofy British guys flanking on the side.
Yeah. So for our listeners, Goal 3, not to get ahead because we'll cover it at some point, is not actually about Santiago Muñez.
No,
but we'll get to that.
All. It's about unrelated players.
Yeah.
It's about like England's World Cup campaign, a terrible World Cup campaign like most are. And you want to talk about being uninvested in characters. Wait till we get to that.
What's it called? Is Goal 3, what's the subtitle?
It's
The Dream Ends or something.
No. Taking the World or something like that.
Yes, that might be right.
Yeah,
and we know for a fact that Kuno Becker himself hates it.
Yes, because
apparently he's in it for 30 seconds.
No.
Yes, he's in it for 30 seconds. Yeah,
with a full head of hair. It's just like he just rocked up, didn't even try to look like.
Wow. I gotta watch it.
However, we did hear when we were reviewing the first one that Goal 4 is going to come out with Kuno Becker. Apparently,
he's trying to.
Well, he's trying to. But let's make it happen. Let's start a GoFundMe or something.
Well, he's a director now, so he's trying to make it himself.
Yeah, but wasn't he supposed to be a manager or something in Goal 4?
Yeah, he would be the manager of maybe Mexico. Mexican.
Right. All good. Anyways, so that was a brief plot of the movie. Covered a lot of good points there. Let's talk about Footy Flicks. So, we've touched on them, but what are your favorite Footy Flicks in this movie? And mine might be a little bit surprising, but we'll start with Adam first.
It's hard that last game has so much like cool production value, but it's like too much that I don't like it. I find it like off-putting. Like it's right. It's like they talked about in the making of thing again, like how they filmed so many scenes like variable speeds and stuff to capture that, and it's just like it's not how I wanted to watch that. It loses all the realism of. You think back to the first film, that training scene where he's covered in mud and stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I almost think the best football scene is actually when Enrique gets a new ball, like that Champions League ball that his dad buys him, and that big kid gets it and kicks it into a window. That's mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mark?
I honestly don't even really have one. They all blend together, like you're saying. They're just so overproduced, and they look like those, like the FIFA films that we always talk about on like Prime and stuff. But the thing is, when you watch those, you have memories of the era or that tournament itself, so you kind of like harken back to that and enjoy it in that sense. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. And then the keepy uppies scene that you were talking about in the parking garage.
Yeah.
I was trying to count the number of cuts they used.
Right.
They would cut to a different camera angle. And then even before he let go of the ball, with another camera angle. It's just, it wasn't good. It was too much of a music video director type of thing.
So apparently, I read an interview with Kuno, like a text interview with Kuno Becker. Apparently he's not that good at football.
Oh, really?
Like he trained for the movie, of course, but like he doesn't have a natural touch or a natural ability to like do keepy uppies and stuff like that. But anyways, back to football flicks. I will say my favorite football flick in the movie is when Kuno Becker goes to visit the mom and they play that little game. They play a little bit of pickup football in the slum.
Right, yeah.
And Kuno Becker passes to Enrique and he just like, 5 holes the keeper.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's like a Rabona kind of,
Yeah, through the legs. I thought that was a slick move. And that was the most real football in this entire movie.
Even that made me mad though, because I was like, has he learned nothing? He shouldn't play pickup with people because he might get injured and become an asshole again.
So that Jose plus 10 commercial I was talking about, did that come out before or after this? Would have been for the 2006 World Cup probably.
So
this movie came out in 2007.
Maybe they filmed it at the same time because it has shades of that, like them playing pickup and almost like the exact same set.
So so this movie was shot during the 2006 season, right? Because a lot of those games were from the 2006 Champions League.
Yeah, and Michael Owen was transferred end of 2005 season, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Sounds right, yeah.
Yes, he was. So anything else to say for Footy Flicks? Anything else that crosses your mind, whether wrongly or rightly?
Oh, one thing we haven't kind of covered is Rutger Hauer as the manager. He's like, such a like cool presence because he's like got this charm and charisma, but also like super imposing in a way that the manager in the first film wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I really like him as an actor anyway. I think he's super cool, or was super cool.
He does a lot of like B movies though, right? Like he was in Batman Begins as the Wayne Enterprises board director, and he was amazing in that.
Yeah,
he's always in like these direct-to-video like DVD releases.
Yeah, he was in Blade Runner, I guess, the original.
Oh, that's right.
What real life manager does he actually remind you of? I want to say he has shades of Ancelotti a little bit.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Cool, suave manager. Yeah.
Except Ancelotti won't be keeping us cool for much longer, just based on where he manages football. But that's for another day. All right, cool, man. Those were some good football flicks, or not so good football flicks. We're kind of clutching at straws there. But yeah, I think it's time to get into trivia. And so, Adam, can you remind us where we are in trivia? I believe I'm in the lead by 6.
Just pulling it up now. Give me 1 second. Keep yourselves amused whilst this computer strolls to get it loaded.
I think 644, which gives us a chance.
643.
Yeah, 643. So Adam, you're at 3. Mark, you're at 4. I'm at 6.
Yep.
So a chance for either of you to catch me. Actually, Mark, you could even overtake me today with a perfect score. So today's questions are going to be Real Madrid based mostly. So I'll just start with the first question, which is a nice light one. So first question, which of the following is not one of Real Madrid's nicknames? Los Merengues, Los Vikingos, Los Blancos, or Las Pudines? Which is not? Adam, you can go first.
I will go B. Second one. What was that?
Los Vikingos?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
What was the last one, Regev?
Los Pudines.
Los Pudines. I'm gonna I think it's the Vikings one, but just to mix it up, I'll go with that one. So D. Los Pudines.
So one of you is right.
Who?
And that is Mark.
Damn it.
Hey.
Los Pudines. Yeah, so they're actually called the Los Vikingos. When I researched this, I'm like, what? When? Right? But Los Blancos, Los Merengues, everybody knows.
Yeah.
It was really between those two. Okay. Next question. In 2014, Real Madrid won their 10th Champions League title. What is this feat affectionately known as in Madrid? We'll start with you, Mark.
What is it known as? The 10th title?
Yes. In Madrid, what do they call it?
Shit.
I'm not giving multiple choice for this because we should know this.
Oh, man. I should know this. Ronaldo was there then. And I was somewhat following them on the periphery.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm going to make up something stupid in Spanish and say Los Stellaros. I don't know.
What was that?
Los Stellaros.
Okay.
I just completely made that up. I can't remember what it is.
How about yourself, Adam?
It's like Deca something for 10. Oh, I cannot remember what the... Oh, this is driving me mad. And I watched something the other day where they talked about this.
Again, the question is, in 2014, Real Madrid won their 10th Champions League title, the 10th European Cup. What is this feat affectionately known as in Madrid and across Spain and Europe mostly?
It's Deca something. I cannot remember what it is. It's going to drive me mad.
We need an answer.
I'm just going to say Deca ton.
Adam,
It's not that.
you were so close. It's called La Decima.
Oh, that's it. Shit.
Okay, the next question, one of you are going to get a point. And this is thinking back to the movie. So you guys are going to face each other. You are both going to try to name as many players that made a cameo in this movie. So one by one. So Adam, you'll start first, and Mark goes, and Adam goes until one of you guys fails. So not necessarily in order or anything like that. Just the players that may have made a cameo in Goal 2, Living the Dream.
Okay.
Adam, you can start.
Zinedine Zidane.
All right.
Raul.
All right.
David Beckham.
All right.
Roberto Carlos.
All right.
Thierry Henry.
Yep.
Ronaldo.
Yep.
Do they have to have been a player playing, or they can just be...
Nope.
Okay, so Steve McManaman.
Yep.
Messi.
Yep.
Ronaldinho.
Yep.
Michael Owen.
Yep.
He appears in the film?
He appears on
the platform.
Yeah, he
Okay.
appears on the TV. I'll take
Okay.
it. I'll take it.
Rivaldo.
Yep. Ooh, wait. Okay, fine. I'll take that
Definitely
one.
see him.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Freddie Lundberg.
Yep. Okay, but just so we're clear, it's players that you see.
Physically see. Okay.
Yeah.
Thomas Gravison.
Yep.
Sergio Ramos.
Yep.
Casillas.
Yeah.
It's getting tight now.
After the Real Madrid players are done, it gets tight, man.
PK.
Yes.
Robert Perez.
Yes.
Oh, I've got one more. Yes.
There's still tons on the list.
I know. I'm just trying to think of even the Madrid guys. Fabregas.
Yes.
Jonathan Woodgate.
Yes.
I was going to say Figo. He wasn't there then. Oh man, I'm struggling for one more. I give up.
Do you really?
I'm trying to think of the Madrid guys.
You could think outside of Madrid.
Yeah, use your knowledge of Rosenborg players when they go to Norway and play them.
Robert Carlos, Ronaldo was there. Who else is in there? I'm stuck, man.
All right, that point. All right, I'm going to give the point to Adam then.
It's Adam.
So just a couple: Milan Baros, Thiago, Diego Lopez, Mamadou Diarra, Juninho, Florentino Perez,
That's right.
Victor Valdez, Vicente Rodriguez, Roberto Soldado, Raul Bravo, Jens Lehmann, Guti, Samuel Eto'o, Carlos Puyol, Ivan Helguera.
I knew there was like more Barcelona players. I was going blank on a lot of them though.
Yeah.
But no, that was good. That went on for a while. That's exactly what we wanted out of this.
I would have got Puyol, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I maxed my knowledge there.
So this week's trivia was tied 1-1. So where does that bring everybody to? That means that Mark is at 5 points. That means that Adam's at 4 points. And still in the lead is myself at 6 points. And I'm going to try to put a bigger gap in next week.
Congratulations and thank you for the questions.
Yeah, it's nice one. That was good.
Yeah. I thought those were some Real Madrid-based questions that would just kind of get your brains pumping a little bit. But it's that time where we rate this movie. First, let's rate it out of 5 stars. What would you guys give this out of 5 stars before we put it on the Matchday table?
This is like a 2 for me.
Same.
Easy 2.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm fully in agreement that I think it's a 2 out of 5. All right, Matchday table. That was easy. So just to recap the Matchday table, we've got Summer of 92 in position number 1. And so first place. Second place, we've got Shaolin Soccer. Third place, we got When Saturday Comes. Fourth place, we got Tsubasa, Euro Daikasen. And 5, we got My English Soccer Adventure. So Mark, we'll start with you. Where would you put this on the table?
Does My English Soccer Adventure start to like grow fondly in your heart, like the further we get away from it?
As this quaint, beautiful film, yeah.
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
Like the less I remember about it, the better it gets in my mind, in my memory. But,
Dude, just the production quality itself for me. Anyways, no, we'll let you go first. But
I'm gonna put this. It's kind of tough. I wouldn't put it above Shaolin Soccer. Obviously, it's right between. It's gonna battle with When Saturday Comes. So that third spot for me is a matter of does it go below When Saturday Comes or above? And man, the production value of this was so good, but honestly, I'm going to put it in fourth. I'm going to put it fourth. I'd rather watch When Saturday Comes again over this.
So after When Saturday Comes,
yeah.
So you'd put it in fourth place on the current Matchday Matinee table.
Bumping down Tsubasa, yeah.
Nice, bumping down Tsubasa to number 5. That makes sense. Yep. How about yourself, Adam?
100%.
Recording has stopped.
Oh,
hold up. Recording stopped.
I know why. It's fine. Keep going. My backup's going. It'll be because my Dropbox is filled up. It's okay. My backup is 100% still going.
Yep. How about yourself, Adam? What would you put this? Where would you put this on the Matchday Matinee table?
Definitely a 4th. I fully expected to come into this. I was like, it's going to come out here, and I thought I might have to fight you guys for it to be better than When Saturday Comes. But I just think they're very similar films. Like, Jimmy in When Saturday Comes also kind of has a bit of a personality transplant halfway through that film and becomes a dick, but it's more believable. And I bought into his story, like his conflicts, way more than I did Santiago's in this film. And sure, it doesn't have all the glitz and glamour, but it doesn't need to. It's a better film. And it still did have a really cool, like that last game where Jimmy scores or leads them to victory against Man United was still a really cool game without quite having as much go into it.
Yeah.
It's 4th for me.
Nice. Yeah, I guess that's my turn. Honestly, as much as I liked the first one, and I had all the plaudits from me, I think from all of us, this movie was lacking in a lot of those ways. And I'm in the same boat as you guys were. Do I put this above When Saturday Comes or below When Saturday Comes? I think it's better than Captain Tsubasa. I mean, from a watchability perspective, I'll probably never watch Captain Tsubasa again. My English Soccer Adventure was what it was. But I would still put this below When Saturday Comes. I just think When Saturday Comes didn't need the glitz and glamour. It actually showed the gritty side of Sheffield, which I really appreciated, where this was like, they tried to show the posh side of Madrid, but it didn't work so well in terms of that. I felt like all the scenes were mashed together. The beginning, the middle, and the end come at you so fast. The character development happens like overnight, or within 5 minutes, and there's no real build up. And I think for that reason, this will be number 4 for me as well. So we're all aligned as far as the ranking goes.
I know like part 1 did have its moments with like Adidas obviously sponsoring it, and I think Mercedes as well. Yeah. But this one felt even more so, to the point where it's like almost a United Passions like propaganda type thing.
It's just like a soulless, endless advert kind of, with these cameos littered out.
I believe Steve McManaman was an executive producer on this film.
Okay.
And there was a text interview again that I read online where it says, this is all thanks to Sepp Blatter's vision of having Adidas and having Real Madrid. I don't know if we talked about this in the first movie, but they actually contacted Liverpool first to do it. Before Newcastle. I totally forgot about that. But Liverpool was like, no, rightly, thank God. But they got Newcastle to do it. And it was good. But the second one, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Too greedy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guessing Lamborghini was a sponsor of this as well. They're pushing like that 200,000 Spider.
Yeah, and there was like a couple of them, not just his. Like that woman he had the affair with had one as well.
That was a funny scene where she thought that he thought that she drove off in
his car,
the white Spider, and then she had the exact same one.
Yeah, actually, if you look at the sponsors, Adidas is obviously a huge one. Lamborghini is another. I don't know if you see any others, but
the tofu brand. I don't even know if that's real.
I don't. No, they got shit on by Santiago. But no,
Real Madrid itself, just a big advert for them.
Yeah, Real Madrid itself, and for Beckham, of course. No, so that was so number 4 is where goal to living the dream goes, which now that brings us to the end of our show. So thank you very much for listening, everybody. Adam, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Joypad Goalposts on Twitter and the same on Instagram as well.
How about yourself, Mark?
83 Football on Instagram and Mark83 on Twitter.
And for myself, you can find me at Raghav Sandhu on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you also follow at Matchday Matinee on Twitter. We put out lots of great content every week. Supplementary information.
We had some funny stuff. Sorry, man. We had some funny stuff with New Haven this week. So we did like a little bit of promotion for New Haven, or like the beautiful town of New Haven was featured in My English Soccer Adventure, and people from New Haven actually messaged back laughing, saying this is the first time they've ever had New Haven being described as beautiful.
Yeah, so if you ever want to interact with us and talk about the movies, hit us up at Matchday Matinee on Twitter, and we always post side information on the movies we're doing. I know there's some particular, I guess, Adam's going to do something on the Matchday Matinee. Also, I'll keep it a secret for now, but it'll be out. He's going to do something on that Twitter account. I'll probably do something at some point, and I'm sure Mark will as well. So keep in touch on at Matchday Matinee on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also check us out on YouTube if you want to see the video version of our podcast. With that, from the terraces to the theater, we're Matchday Matinee. See you next time.